are going to talk about security and connectivity and the convergence around all these topics and the new ways of using security. It's not really revolutionary. It's rather a way of presenting things, the way we are going to consume security, because the components which are underlying it are different. Why do we have this question? Why are we looking for new ways of having safer infrastructures and facilities? Because the world is changing, has changed, and also mainly because of the World Health Crisis that we have been through. And of course, behind this evolution, these are the consequences of a digital transformation and also a new way of thinking, new mindsets. There is a lot of mobility, and we have more and more tools and equipments in the information systems, and we have also connected objects which are controlled, monitored, and increasingly cloud applications. They are SAS apps, and these are services, and you can look at different bureautics, and they use SAS, and the way people do things change. So we also have to have another way of tackling security. So it's more than another way of using safety. It's there are different concepts. Of course, these are the consequences of this very evolution. And we were in a world with the information system where a part of the information system was trustworthy, which was protected against external attacks. And of course, these attacks could be internal attacks also. This is what was called a kind of hub protection. Today, the borders of the information system are rather vague. Some users work, for example, at home, whether they are mobile in hotels or fairs, or whether they are on other sites. They would manage also different equipments. They would also use cloud applications. Because of this environment, people are not capable of defending borders and therefore cannot defend these borders. So these are the different approaches. There is also another problem. We do not have enough resources in cybersecurity. It's difficult to hire people to get them. We can give some figures, of course. In France, we would need some 350,000 workers in this field. And at the world level also, the figures are rather high. It's going to be difficult to fill in this gap on the middle run or long run. So we have to keep the different resources, and we have to have more efficient workers. Why is there any request for SASE? There is some confusion, so I'm going to explain. And of course, there is a kind of vague, and everybody tries to find also solutions and accurate, but there is a demand. Why? There are three drivers. There is this multi-cloud adoption. Cloud exists in all the companies. It's facilities, platforms, and also you have different softwares. And 93% of the companies have already a multi-cloud strategy. And this is a very important paradigm shift. So you have access to the cloud in the same way that you have access to other ways of using computers. So the workers who work on internet and is distance working, this has been also imposed somehow by the pandemics. But this is going to remain, and maybe not at 100%, but this is going to be one of the components. Teleworking is going to remain as one of the components. It has a great impact on the protection of the information system. What about the user's experience? This is rather new. The users prefer to work in a nice environment, and they make feedbacks, and they complain about the response time because the former approaches and facilities are not the best ones to deliver new applications on these methods. So these are three strong drivers for this request for safety infrastructures. And also, we need streamlining. We want to have something simple to deliver and simple to use. And this is also important. And this is pushed by this digital transformation. And, well, the word numérique is not maybe the best one in French. Anyhow, organizations are changing and on different pillars. First of all, this notion of mobility. There is a massive increase of resources that connect themselves from very many different places, and they use applications also that can be in a cloud, that can be with SAS, also web users, and this can be, of course, a difficult environment to be taken into consideration on usual applications. So there is this digital transformation. Of course, this increases this area of attack of the companies. These are open systems. They are easily accessible. You can have easy exchanges. And for example, you have different operators which are mobile. You have also subcontractors, any provider, service provider. So it's the hyperconnectivity. And you have to manage it, and you have to manage protection and risk. Also, we have connected objects in the industrial sector, but also elsewhere. And things are not going to decrease because the 5G is going to allow people to have more connections. There will be more other users. It's not just a matter of fashion. It's just there is just an actual interest. For example, for industry, it allows them to just optimize production to be more efficient. It's going to be less expensive and more competitive. So this is an actual interest. And also the edges are exploding somehow. The cloud edge, one edge, etc. What does it mean exactly? So it means more capabilities and being for data processing and being closer to the users. It means that you are going to have a deficit of monitoring of these systems. And in this environment, there are two important factors. First of all, the threat is changing because the cyber criminals are going to go on, and they are becoming really professional. And these attacks are increasingly sophisticated. They have become structured, and people who do have skills, who provide services, who make codes, they are not the ones that use it. They are going to hire or sell these services to other people who have the means to use these threats. And the outcome is that you have to have to face increasingly complex and sophisticated threats. They are extremely well monitored, and they have to be perfect And for example, the ransomware that has been used increasingly during the last 2 years. You have also the supply chain attacks, and this is a model of this area or this sector which is becoming increasingly professional. They're going to opt, for example, an updating for a software which is in relation with administrative sector, and then they are going either to exploit it themselves or they are going to sell this to others. And they are going to infect hundreds, thousands of companies. And generally speaking, just to ask for a ransom and to use a ransomware. So this threat is increasing, and it is in relation with an increasingly stricter regulation to mitigate, to address this threat, and to give again trust to this digital transformation. And this cyberspace economy can be sustainable only if there is trust. And the role of compliance is there to provide benchmarks that allow people to trust the system in the deployment, and also the robustness for the management of these different systems. This is a reality. These are actual facts. If we look at cloud users and mobile workers, we can see, for example, a central website and then deported websites. These are expensive and slow, and they do not meet the needs. The response time is not the optimal one because the access to public resources is not done properly. They centralize the internet outgoing system because the SAS mobile systems and messengers are used in the cloud. Lots of messenger systems are used through the cloud, so the access is not the best one. Also, you need to have an access to the private cloud. And we are in a multi-cloud system. Even you can also keep your internal resources. They have put things in cloud, but they just have put it back. So you have usual data centers. You have also private clouds, and despite some of the parameters are different, but the use of external resources, that is to say platform facilities, WS, GSP, or Azure, or they would use some specific functions, or the overflow, and because they allow them to use a kind of, or to absorb a kind of one-shot load. And you have to deliver that for users who are in different facilities on a campus, in regional agencies, but also for mobile users. With the same safety, with the same facility, it should be really smooth, with the same user experience. So the architectures we had designed 5 or 10 years ago do not meet these needs. What we need is streamlining, adaptability, because the world is changing according to the applications, to different professions. We have to adapt these infrastructures. We have to be smooth. We have to increase the speed and also the safety. This is rather new. This very notion of safety and also network, we have already noticed this with SD-WAN. Most of the people who use SD-WAN use secure SD-WAN. We don't want to compromise security, but we need also flexibility. This is a constant element. So there is a convergence of all these fields. People they are going to deliver connectivity in a flexible manner to have a cloud and an SAS application, but with the whole security. People really want to have this safety, and this is good and praiseworthy. What are the challenges in these environments? There are very many of them, unfortunately. First of all, the compliance. The lawmakers put pressure for the laws to be complied with. It should be monitored. You have to demonstrate that you just meet these demands of compliance. Secondly, this is what triggers the arrival into these approaches. How can I cover and monitor the agileness, and how can I have different facilities that meet my needs, but I can change them automatically, and making sure that this environment is safe? Also, other questions. What about the applications? My application, who is using my application? How do I protect the access to this application? Because anybody should have access. And behind these applications, you have data. How do I protect this data? How do I monitor them? And also at different levels. I'm not going to protect, for example, production or in the pharmaceutical worlds, or data sheet, which are some of them are just accessible to the public. How do I migrate all of this? Do I migrate everything all of a sudden, or do I do something progressively? And this is going to be done concretely according to my needs. We are going to migrate my applications into new environments. So very many different issues. How are we going to be able to respond? So the very expected solution is a solution which is going to meet to the constraints and needs of today and tomorrow, because this need of flexibility is there. I have to meet my needs and constraints of today, but I should be able to meet the needs of the future professions that I don't know already, which are going maybe totally change my needs or the needs of my users. So my facilities should get adapted to all these issues. That is, say, flexibility, to get adapted to the new needs, to the new constraints of the professions. Actually, the needs in the professions have to cover, and the computer science has to meet these needs. But it should be simple. We should do streamlining. We need resources, workers, and it should be done rapidly. It should be simple. Simple in the monitoring, in the use, in the follow-up. And at the end of the day, increasingly, what we see is not necessarily the very end, but silos are not liked anymore because they're very complex. What about the outcome? They don't give the best outcome. They require lots of resources to be managed. What we want is that all these capabilities can be delivered for everywhere and from everywhere, on sites which are big or small, for a small agency, for a small structure with 3 workers, for a user who is doing teleworking, in other companies with whom that I work, the service providers, the customers. Today, we have to work very rapidly. All the service providers work with the assembly line, and they have to be on time. And for any kind of user, employees, external workers, people who take care of administration, according to the access and the profile, the risks are going to be different, and we have to be able to manage those needs. Also, we have to make the convergence between safety and connectivity. And this is what we did a few years ago about quality. Quality is cross-cutting. Safety of data is cross-cutting. It has to be covered from the user to the data center. And often I said that the very first role of a company is to take care of the customer, because they're the first ones who have to face the threat, and they are the best ones to identify the threat. Therefore, you have to make them aware. What we want is to deliver connectivity according to the needs. This is the promise we had with SD-WAN. and something which is going to be adapted and is going to meet the needs in an automatic way. And we should not forget the issue of safety, and connectivity is going to be safe and according to the risk. I'm not going to operate safety in the same way I take care of a user who is in the company than a user who is doing teleworking. So the possibilities of corruption are not the same, of compromise are not the same. Of course, we have to adapt this matter of safety according to the environment. Actually, we have to call this Secure Access Service Edge, SASE. It was defined in 2009 by Gartner. Secure Access Service Edge. And this is actually the convergence between safety and network. So the users can be anywhere and the resources are anywhere either. So Gartner says that these are capabilities. You can connect yourself from anywhere to anywhere, and you have also to have full network safety. So it's SWG, CASB, firewalls, ZTNA. And the idea is to support the dynamic access which are safe for digital companies. This is the definition given by Gartner. Also, Gartner did not start with the existing solutions. He talked about the needs of the companies. The companies need to have to work in a safe environment. This is SASE, S-A-S-E. And what could be interesting is that what SASE is not. In our field, well, everybody is talking about SASE in the marketing world. They try to use the different solutions to be part of this model. So there are very many different people. If you go and ask them, what about your SASE solution? They say it's going to do this and that, but it's not the same like the competition. So SASE is not like this. It's not a web security gateway, not at all. Even if the web gateway is part of the SASE, it's an important component, but it's not only that. It's neither a CASB. CASB is part of SASE. You have to protect your softwares, of course. There should be a monitoring, but this is only one of the components of this service. It's not also a firewall services. It is part of it. You cannot allow the flows just to go anywhere without any monitoring, but this is part of the solution only. And it's not either a mechanism for the access to the network. It is part of it, but it's not only that. SASE is all of this and also more than that. It's a security-based approach, and it's a kind of revolution. Things change because you are not anymore in a solution that you make little by little. These are solutions which are not 4G, but which are going to be provided like services. So therefore, it's a matter of streamlining. It's funny for me because some 20 years ago, with some friends, we had created modesi.com. It didn't work at all, because if you went to see the customer and said, we are going to make everything safe through the link that we use, it would not work because it was a great experience. The idea was close to SASE, to provide different safety networks. We had antivirus and different DNS functions. And this was the idea, to provide safety in a managed and simple way without having people who inside the company would have these skills. SASE is the same approach, but we got much further. And this is due to different needs. At that moment, we didn't need so much flexibility. Now the facilities have to get adapted. Now, what about the different functional levels of SASE? The way they are defined by Gartner, we have different functionalities which are compulsory. They are part of this SASE offer or supply. Other ones are additional. So it's not a comprehensive list. What we are going to see, I'm talking about the functionalities in SASE. These are SD1, capability of providing network in a flexible way for all kind of users, together with web security gateway and firewall new generation, and also coupled with GASB. We have to have private cloud and public cloud and the SASE also. So the information system, we are not capable of defining the borders of the information system anymore. So people cannot trust, we cannot guarantee that there will not be any compromission of this system. So you have to use a system to have access to the information system. There are other functions that go further, like sandboxing. It's a good protection against ransomware, isolating the navigators. It could be extremely interesting in order to protect the users, the WAF security. Also, when you use different kind of applications, and also the management of the tools, which are managed or not by the company. For example, you have different tools, and through IoTs, you can also add the Wi-Fi safety and the edge computing safety as well. We can see a common basis. They cover connectivity, functions, and safety with firewall, and the very notion of zero trust access. This is the very core of SASE. It means that these are frameworks. It's a framework, a comprehensive offer which is going to meet different needs. You can see this on the slide. So this is a network security delivered by the cloud. You have SD1, firewall, SWV, CASB, and ZTNA. And you have 4G in a transparent manner. The idea is not just to have SD1 and then when do we put the firewall? No, it's not. It's integrated. We deliver connectivity, and in this connectivity we have safety, and then you have different functions, firewall, SWG, authentication functions. This is good because for a while we have been advocating this kind of platform.
Quelque chose qu'on a j'allais dire dans l'ADN, en tout cas dans la manière dont on aborde nos solutions et la capacité d'intégration de ces solutions ensemble, oui. Et donc le FortiSASE, effectivement, c'est une plateforme, mais on a déjà une plateforme, donc finalement l'effort n'a pas été si grand que ça. Et l'idée, c'est effectivement de pouvoir délivrer de la sécurité à tout moment, en tout lieu, à travers un seul fournisseur. Parce que pour ceux qui ne l'auraient pas vu encore, SASE, ça veut dire une chose, ça veut dire que vous êtes mono-fournisseur. Forcément. Voilà. même si après on peut faire des intégrations avec des produits annexes, mais le cœur il est forcément unique. Et derrière ça, on va tirer bénéfice de ce qui existe déjà, tout ce qui est ce qu'on appelle chez nous le réseau piloté par la sécurité, hein, c'est-à-dire le SD-WAN, le firewall réseau, le Web Security Gateway, et donc l'intégration de tout ça au sein d'un modèle unique qui devient Sase. Évidemment, tout ce qui est ZTNA, l'accès aux terminaux, le Network Access Control, la gestion des identités, la gestion des habilitations, tout ça pour finalement entrer dans cette démarche Zero Trust et puis limiter le rayon d'action d'une menace quand elle arrive. Puisque, on le sait tous, hein, un des objectifs des cybercriminels quand il y a une intrusion, hein, c'est effectivement d'aller chercher des comptes à privilèges pour ensuite effectivement pouvoir aller chercher les données qui les intéressent et pouvoir les monnayer, soit directement à la victime, hein, sous forme de ransomware, hein, soit à l'extérieur, de manière commanditée ou pas, en fonction des contextes. Et puis une sécurité dynamique du cloud, hein. Le Sase c'est quand même très lié au cloud, donc il va falloir déployer n'importe quelle solution dans n'importe quel cloud avec la même protection, puisque ce qu'on souhaite finalement, ce à quoi on s'attache, finalement, c'est protéger ce qui a de la valeur dans les entreprises, c'est-à-dire les données. Or aujourd'hui, les données, elles peuvent être sur le poste de l'utilisateur, qui appartient à l'entreprise ou pas, elles peuvent être dans un cloud, privé ou public, voire un cloud appartenant à un fournisseur de logiciels en mode SaaS. Elles peuvent être dans les data centers, peuvent être un peu partout. Pour autant, cette donnée, elle a la même valeur et elle doit avoir le même niveau de protection. Donc cette notion de sécurité dynamique du cloud, c'est bien ça, c'est de pouvoir délivrer la sécurité à un groupe de données, à un type de données, de la même manière, n'importe où, à travers des mécanismes de diffusion de sécurité, de mise en place de machines virtuelles, de services de contrôle, etc. Donc ça, c'est important. Et puis le dernier point, c'est cette notion de sécurité opérationnelle. L'idée, c'est de réduire les silos, réduire la complexité, apporter de la simplicité, apporter finalement un niveau d'abstraction supérieur, masquer les technologies, parce que malheureusement, on le sait tous, aujourd'hui, quand on fait de la cybersécurité, quand on fait de la cyberdéfense, on va être obligé de déployer des technologies différentes. On ne va pas sécuriser de la même manière une messagerie, un serveur web, une API qu'un utilisateur distant. Mais pour autant, la volonté, la politique de sécurité restera la même et elle sera liée à la donnée qui va transiter. Et puis, assister également les analyses de sécurité au niveau des SOC, par exemple, grâce à une détection centralisée des menaces et puis des outils additionnels d'intelligence artificielle, par exemple, qui vont supprimer les faux positifs, en tout cas une grande partie des faux positifs, et donc assister les analystes dans cette tâche-là. Donc on est vraiment sur une approche intégrée, sur une approche plateforme, avec une architecture cloud qui a été spécialement conçue pour Sase. On a vraiment déployé quelque chose de nouveau. C'est pas la réutilisation d'infrastructures existantes. Et dedans, on va retrouver les différentes fonctions, le firewall as a service, le ZTNA, des fonctions pour protéger les utilisateurs distants, les petites structures, les grosses structures. Donc vraiment une approche complètement intégrée sous forme de service qui va répondre aux besoins de ces entreprises. Et on va retrouver les différentes couches, hein, le réseau sous forme de service et la sécurité sous forme de service. Alors c'est un peu, c'est une vue logique, bien entendu, ça, mais c'est vraiment ça. Et c'est ce qu'on retrouve ici sur cette notion de comment on déploie finalement ce service. On a un accès pour tout collaborateur de n'importe où, sur n'importe quelle ressource. Et puis derrière, on va délivrer de la sécurité, on va délivrer du réseau, c'est-à-dire de la connectivité, comment cet utilisateur va se connecter au mieux, et puis délivrer des applications qui sont au-dessus. Ces applications peuvent être en mode SaaS, dans un cloud privé, dans un cloud public, dans un data center. Donc vraiment tout cet écosystème finalement. Donc là on voit bien la plateforme telle qu'elle est, et on peut voir donc dans cette sécurité adaptative du cloud, justement cette architecture, cette manière de faire avec les différents points de contrôle. On a effectivement un environnement où on a de l'accès web, de l'internet, on a des applications en mode SaaS, on a de la messagerie, c'est pareil ici, mais finalement la messagerie c'est jamais qu'un logiciel qui peut être un mode SaaS comme un autre, du cloud public, du cloud privé, du data center, etc. Et il faut se débrouiller avec tout ça, il faut sécuriser tout ça, sachant qu'on va pouvoir accéder à ces ressources d'un campus, d'un siège, donc d'un gros site, de sites régionaux plus petits, voire de sites locaux très petits, ou d'utilisateurs distants carrément. Donc il va falloir couvrir l'ensemble des besoins qui vont être de sécuriser en fait le cloud public, donc avec des mécanismes classiques, sécuriser l'IaaS, avoir de l'intégration native, pouvoir protéger les instances, avoir les conteneurs, etc. Donc c'est effectivement Sase qui va permettre ça. Finalement ici on a une vue plus fonctionnelle, plus opérationnelle, mais c'est exactement la même chose qu'on a vu avant. On va retrouver les différentes composants. Donc sur la partie application, on va retrouver du WAF, de l'API, du pentest de vulnérabilité, on va retrouver de la surveillance active et de la config, du CSPM, la possibilité d'éditer des rapports de conformité, donc ça c'est important pour pouvoir suivre, la détection de shadow IT, problématique générale, plutôt présente dans l'industrie, de manière assez prononcée, mais qu'on peut retrouver un peu partout. Sécuriser la messagerie et les accès, avec des mécanismes d'authentification multifacteur, d'intégration avec les différents systèmes internes, du soft token, de la sécurité de la messagerie, même pouvoir lancer des campagnes de phishing pour pouvoir tester cette sécurité et surtout tester les utilisateurs qui sont le premier... certains disent le premier vecteur de faille, mais moi je dis le premier rempart de l'entreprise. Je pense que c'est plus positif de parler comme ça. Sécuriser la mobilité aussi, parce que c'est une des problématiques auxquelles répond Sase, c'est-à-dire comment je sécurise un utilisateur distant. Ben là, en fait, il va aller chercher sa sécurité dans le cloud. Il va avoir un agent qui va le permettre de se connecter à un cloud, et ensuite le cloud va assurer la sécurité et la connectivité, donc le rediriger s'il utilise de l'AWS ou de l'Azure pour pouvoir utiliser les meilleurs liens de peering, de l'express route sur ces systèmes-là, ou le rediriger sur l'entreprise via des liens qui peuvent être dédiés ou non sur les data centers internes. Et puis, derrière tout ça, effectivement, il va falloir opérer tout ça, avoir une sécurité opérationnelle avec de la gestion, de l'orchestration, de l'automatisation. L'idée, c'est ça, c'est bien d'apporter quelque chose de très simple à déployer. Vous n'avez pas besoin d'une armée de personnes pour aller gérer cette sécurité. Et puis enfin, la surveillance du cloud, donc avoir ce monitoring, de savoir quelle est l'utilisation, par où ça passe, qu'est-ce qui se passe, pouvoir gérer de manière automatique les incidents, etc. Tout ça, c'est effectivement Sase, et c'est effectivement la promesse qui est faite. Alors juste peut-être avant de prendre des questions, s'il y en a, je pense pas forcément, en tout cas dans un avenir court, voire moyen terme, que Sase va remplacer tout le reste. Même s'il y a des besoins très forts, je pense qu'on va rester là aussi dans de l'hybride. Je ne suis pas convaincu que pour un très gros site avec 5000 ou 10 000 personnes, il y ait vraiment un intérêt de remonter l'intégralité de la sécurité dans le cloud pour tous les utilisateurs. Je ne suis pas sûr que ce soit la méthode optimum, d'autant qu'on aura probablement des problématiques de segmentation, des problématiques de séparation de bulles, etc. Donc on va être dans un environnement hybride où on aura un certain nombre de sites, notamment les petites structures, ce qu'on appelle les Synerges par exemple, ou des utilisateurs distants qui seront en full Sase, et puis probablement interconnectés à ça et gérés à travers la même console, des gens qui seront plus sur des architectures de type SD-WAN un peu plus classiques, où on aura un mixte. Ils iront chercher une partie de la sécurité dans le cloud et une partie sera délivrée localement, ne serait-ce que pour faire la segmentation des différentes bulles, par exemple, applicatives ou d'utilisateurs. Voilà, et je ne sais pas si vous avez des questions sur ces sujets-là. En tout cas, je vous remercie de votre attention. Pas de questions. Alors, soit j'ai été super clair, soit j'ai endormi la moitié des gens.
Good morning. The services platform that you deliver for these Sase solutions in Fortinet, this means that it is deployed in platforms and Fortinet data centers everywhere. Could you say a bit more on connectivity? And I get that this is related to the purchase of Opera Network. Yes, this is part of it, but not only. With regard to data centers, this is a very important question indeed, because as you said, when we deliver services in the cloud, a user in Singapore shouldn't have a cloud in the United States. He should have a cloud closer. So this is what we're trying to do. We are trying to deploy clouds for this type of services, and we are helped with Equinix. In Equinix data centers, we deliver such services. This allows us to be better distributed throughout the globe, to better meet the needs, and to work with cloud providers, because this is also a challenge. When you want connectivity on Google Cloud or else, you don't want to do it with links which have a bad quality. You want rapid links, and you want to have a better cloud. So this is why we chose Equinix, to have this international presence and to work with the big operators in order to meet the needs, because this is one of the challenges of the Sase. Did I answer your question? Yes. So this is ongoing. Yes, right now there are clouds open in the US, in Canada, in Germany. I am not sure which one was opened in Asia, to be honest, but there is also a plan up to 2022 to have 16 data centers throughout the globe. We should have other ones in the future as well, and it will all depend on the amount of connections. When you talk about connectivity associated with pairing and with large service providers, this means that you will help your customers to take solutions with them, or you will come up with a solution and facilitate interco. Now we will have an interco pairing solution. To be honest, we don't have a pairing link with everyone. We are looking into Oracle and other stakeholders, but it will depend on the needs. As you think that we cover the needs, and it also needs to be logical. Users need to have close data centers, so we are choosing the locations. We know that there will be one in Paris, in Madrid, etc. Thank you very much. Good morning. I wanted to know how it works for users. Do we need to have an agent at all terminals? Do we need something central? How does it work? Well, to be clear, the agent has one role, split tunneling, to know what needs to come out and come in. He's controlling a few things. There is no intelligence at the level of the agent because we want to keep it simple. And the agent is just here for connectivity with the cloud delivering the service. Thank you. Well, I think that we have respected the time we had. If you don't have any other questions, thank you very much. And should you have any other questions, feel free to come and see us. We are at the 820 stand. We also are present in the area operational technologies. So thank you very much, and I wish you a great forum.